Face it, Buster, this is Jordan Peterson's world and we all are just living in it. So motherfucker, I got one instruction for you. Have your hand outstretched for that Jordan Peterson red pill. It's the best fucking thing I ever had. In this video, we're gonna examine a lecture by Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson in this lecture makes a very provocative claim. Dr. Peterson says that penguins are actually human midgets in disguise. No, I'm just kidding. He actually makes the old tried and bullshit claim that morality is impossible without religion. We're gonna listen to the whole fucking thing. Peterson will give you a bit of a spoiler about Fyodor Dostoevsky's crime. Fyodor Dostoevsky's book. There we go. Fyodor Dostoevsky, okay? Преступление и наказание, that's it. Fyodor Dostoevsky's crime. Fuck me. Fyodor Dostoevsky's book, Crime and Punishment. There we go. Fuck it. He's gonna give a bit of a spoiler. It's actually a decent read, you know. I am Russian. I know all the correct pronunciations, like Raskolnikov, that cannot be imitated by you as an English speaker, but if you're interested in actually reading the book, then don't watch this video. But if you want to pretend to read it, actually Jordan Peterson gives a decent summary and really gets to the core of the whole thing. But anyway, without further ado, let's get fucking into it. We're gonna watch the lecture. I'm gonna provide my constructive criticism. Let's go on the ride, motherfucker.
In Dostoevsky's book, Crime and Punishment, he has his main character, Raskolnikov, decides that he's going to commit a murder, and he has very good justification for the murder. And Dostoevsky's very good at this. He puts his characters into very, very difficult moral situations and gives them full justification for pursuing the pursuing the pathway that they're pursuing. And so Raskolnikov, he's broke and starving. He wants to go to law school. His sister's about to prostitute herself, roughly speaking, by marrying a guy that hates her, that she hates, and he has contempt for her, or at least acts in that manner. He's trying to rescue his mother as well, who's also in dire financial straits. He goes to a pawnbroker to pawn his meager possession so that he can continue to scrape by. And she has this niece, I believe it's her niece, that's not very bright, who she basically treats as a slave and is horrible to. And so the pawnbroker has this money. Raskolnikov is in dire need. He thinks, look, I'll just kill her, because why the hell not? I'll take her money. She's not doing any good with it anyways. I'll free her niece, who's just lurking as a slave. She's got all these other people tangled up in her pawnbroker schemes. The
other thing you really have to realize about this pawnbroker bitch is that the cunt is actually a cultural Marxist. And she also invents a fucking gender pronoun a day. And so she's really worthy of death.
All that'll happen is the world will be a better place. And the only thing that's holding me back is conventional moral cowardice. And, you know, Dostoevsky has his character in Crime and Punishment go through days, hours and days and weeks of intense imagination about this, rationalization about this, trying to justify himself, placing himself outside the law so that he can perpetrate this act, and telling himself with all the best nihilistic arguments that the only possible thing that could be holding him back is an arbitrary sense of indoctrinated morality. And so Dostoevsky explores that. He does commit the murder, and then of course all hell breaks loose because things don't necessarily turn out the way that you want. He gets away with it, however, Well, he gets away with it technically because no one knows he did it. But he doesn't get away with it in relationship to his own conscience. And so the rest of the book explores that. Well, Dostoevsky, I believe it was in Crime and Punishment, although he makes the same point in many of his books, he makes a very fundamental point. And this is the kind of point that I think that people who haven't investigated these matters down this particular literary and philosophical pathway never grapple with. Dostoevsky said straightforwardly, if there's no God, so if there's no higher value, let's say, if there's no transcendent value, then you can do whatever you want.
Whatever you want, whatever you want. Hey now, whatever you want, right? I mean, there are many, many altar boys with very bloody and sore anuses who can testify to the fact that you can do whatever you want, even with God in the picture. One wonders if Jordan Peterson knows that the records, the complaints against pedophiles in the Catholic Church, that those complaints go back to the Middle Ages. And Vatican has a neat big archives of that shit they've been covering up successfully for centuries. And it's only in our secular godless age where finally there wasn't total reverence for the church when those things could be exposed, and now little boys and girls have less of a chance of being raped by a man in the collar. You know, whatever you want. Peterson, did he ever hear about the Islamic State? Because their sincere belief in Allah has not prevented them from horrible, horrible things. And in fact, like Taliban in Afghanistan, to return to the, old theme of pedophilia, the sexes are so separated, so segregated because of religious decrees that some Afghan men, resort to boys. That's right, they fuck boys. There is such a thing as the dancing boys of Afghanistan, and many of a field commander in that unfortunate country have enjoyed the pleasures of the dancing boys. And fucking because of what's done to these boys, you wonder how they can fucking dance at all, if you know what I mean.
And that's the question that he's investigating. And you see, this is why I have such frustration, say, with people like Sam Harris, the sort of radical atheists, because they seem to think that once human beings abandon their grounding in the transcendent, that the plausible way forward is with a kind of purist rationality that automatically attributes to other people equivalent value.
Because if there's one thing religions are known for, it's for attributing equivalent values to human beings. Hey, Kike, you killed Jesus. Oh no, I'm sorry. That's...
It's like, I just don't understand that. They believe that that's the rational pathway. What the hell is irrational about me getting exactly what I want from every one of you whenever I want it at every possible second? Why is that irrational?
Why is that irrational? Because Jordan Peterson is big pimping on Patreon.
And how possibly is that more irrational than us cooperating so we can both have a good time of it? I don't understand that. I mean, it's as if the psychopathic tendency is irrational. There's nothing irrational about it. It's pure naked self-interest. How is that irrational? I don't understand that. Where's the pathway from rationality to an egalitarian virtue? Why the hell not every man for himself and the devil take the hindmost? It's a perfectly coherent philosophy.
No, you're full of shit, and it's not a coherent philosophy. And here's the thing. Human beings are social animals. Jordan Peterson knows about it. He talks about chimps a lot.
So if you're a brutal chimp leader...
Social animals. And you know what social animals need? Rules by which to engage. In chimp groups, it's very simple things like having the alpha male and the order of chimps who receive food or whatever, who bangs, according to the alpha males. Who bangs the alpha males, who the alpha male bangs, those types of things. Very kind of linear and simplistic. With human beings, it gets a little bit more complicated, much more complicated. But the fact is, for society to exist, it's going to have some sort of rules. Where the fuck has Jordan Peterson heard of a human society where rules didn't exist, where rules for interactions didn't exist. They fucking exist everywhere. You can't do anything you want to do in prison. There is a hierarchy there. There are rules. And if you break those rules, you know, fucking man, don't drop the soap. You're going to get fucked up. There are rules everywhere. They're required for interactions. Let me give you guys and also the thing is that it's in our self-interests to have rules, even if we don't like them. So for example, you know, I'm a driver and that's what I do for a living. And sometimes I speed periodically. Every day I speed. I'm not the biggest daredevil, whatever. I just speed in the straight line on the highway, but I do it. Now, you know, I'm breaking the rule, whatever. And however, would I want to live in a society without these rules? No, I fucking wouldn't. I drive a fucking cargo van without back windows. Do I want everybody to go fucking 80 on the highway? All these imbeciles who I distrust fucking swerving around me in my fucking blind zone, which is like fucking, you know, my whole vehicle is a fucking blind zone. No, I don't fucking want to do it. We all recognize the need for fucking rules in a fucking society. Yeah, you can cheat those rules, and people inevitably do. They try to act like parasites, but that happens fucking everywhere. It happens in whether the society is superstitious or not. There is no evidence that more religious countries, more Christian countries are more ethical than post-Christian countries, which would be the empirical sort of proof if it existed for what Peterson is saying. But there is no fucking proof for it. So here's the thing. Any society, people have to have rules. People will always try to cheat those rules. That's why everybody else recognizes the need for those fucking rules. And so the question is, are these rules going to be set by superstition, or are we going to try to make them as rational as we possibly can? We can't always make them rational. They'll never be totally rational. People will never be totally rational, just like courts will never be totally objective and fair. But we have to have that ideal to strive for. Otherwise, we're all fucked. We're living in fucking mythology and superstition and ancient religions. Just fucking, get our shit together and have some fucking rational rules. So it doesn't make sense to be a parasite, because other people will recognize you as a parasite and will try to kill you. And serial killers would never be acceptable in any society, because they're parasites. They're preying on members of the tribe, and other members of the tribe say, hey, fuck, I could be next. This person could steal from me and rape me or kill me. And so we're going to deal with them one way or another. So that's the whole fucking thing. And it doesn't require religion at all. It's just like this fucking thing where religion kind of claims fucking credit for everything. Where is that mythical society of rapists and murderers where it's all okay? It doesn't fucking exist, because all human societies by definition require rules for functioning.
So I don't see. To me, I think that the universe that people like Dawkins and Harris inhabit is so intensely conditioned by mythological presuppositions that they take for granted the ethic that emerges out of that as if it's just a given, a rational given. And this, of course, precisely not Nietzsche's observation, as well as Dostoevsky's. That's Nietzsche's observation. You don't get it. The ethic that you think is normative is a consequence of its nesting inside this tremendously lengthy history, much of which was expressed in mythological formulation. You wipe that out. You don't get to keep all the presuppositions and just assume that they're rationally axiomatic. To make a rational argument, you have to start with an initial proposition. Well, the proposition that underlies Western culture is that there's a transcendent morality. Now, you could say that's a transcendent morality instantiated in the figure of God. That's fine. You could even call that a personification of the morality. If you don't want to move into a metaphysical space, I'm not arguing for the existence of God. I'm arguing that the ethic that drives our culture is predicated on the idea of God, and that you can't just take that idea away and expect the thing to remain intact midair without any foundational support.
What you saw there right now is just fucking amazing. It's fucking amazing, and it's the reason why I'm so hard up Peterson's ass. This is fucking, like, this is vintage Petersonian bullshit. So we can't have our ethics without the idea of God, and yet we can have the idea of God without God actually existing. Does that make any fucking sense? This whole fucking video, he was saying how our ethics are hollow without God, but it turns out that it's just the idea of God we need, and God doesn't exist. If we can't have ethics without, you know, presuppositions, whatever, if we can't have ethics without the underlying platform of the idea of God, how can the fucking idea of God stand alone without us actually believing in fucking God? Like, what the fuck are you talking about, Peterson? Honestly, like, what the fuck are you talking about? You're like, you know, you're making no fucking sense. So, you know, in other words, if we can have an idea of God without actually believing in God, then we can have fucking ethics and morals without fucking, you know, the myth of God. Isn't that, am I fucking insane? Am I fucking insane? Jesus fucking Christ, what kind of a fucking red pill is this? You know, I'm fucking returning it to the store, motherfucker.